Soldering the switch and resistor to the coin battery holder. So first off, I'm going to zoom in here a tiny bit. You have the coin battery holder, and this nub on the far side, that's the positive side. That has to make sure it goes to the positive side of the LEDs. All right, so it doesn't matter which way the resistor goes. So we have a resistor right here, and we're going to solder it on, or which way the switch goes, but it does matter which way that this actual nub faces on your project. So I'm going to flip this upside down, and I'm going to clamp it into my handy dandy clamper and bring it in. Right? And I'm going to solder the resistor onto the positive end. All right, so first off, we have to do something called tinning. Tinning is putting solder onto something so that it is easier to connect two things. To tin something, you simply take your pencil, and in this case it is the little tiny leg on this, and I touch it and I add some solder. Okay, and there's a bit of solder on there now. You may or may not be able to see the little blob on there. Then what I'm going to do is, with my resistor, I don't need such a long resistor leg, so I'm actually going to cut it in half. So I'm going to take about half of it off, so it's now a little shorter. Okay, I'm going to put it right there, and what I'm going to do is tin the end of the resistor. And I'm just going to do this on the paper here. So we hold it down, and I put a bit of solder on, and you can see maybe there's a little bit of blob of solder on the end of it. Now, to connect the two things, I simply have to touch the two together and touch the solder pencil to it. So let's move this in here a bit, right there. I will take the solder pencil from this side, and you should be able to see this. I take it and I just touch the two, and eventually right there, let it dry for a second, and now it's stuck on. Okay, so there's now my resistor on the leg to positive. I'm going to repeat the process with the wires for the switch on the opposite side. So again, take my wire strippers, and I'm going to strip some off. Okay, so right there it is, and I pull, and there's my wire stripped off. I'm going to put my handy dandy, use my handy dandy thing again, and I'm going to solder or tin the leg on the far side. So you should be able to see this as I do this. There's the leg, and add a bit of solder. And then I take my wire, and I'm going to put my wire this time into my handy dandy holder and tin my wire. So there's a bit of solder on my wire. And finally, now I can either use this, or I'm just going to hold this, and basically I'm going to touch the two together right here. So again, there's the two touching. I take my solder pencil and I just heat it up. There's a little bit of extra there, that's okay. And let it go and cool, and there we go, it's attached. So now I have my project, okay, with resistor on it, the switch on it, and what I'm left with is, on this end, that's going to connect to the LEDs on the positive side, and this end is going to touch to the LEDs on the negative side. And that will be the next tutorial.